Hello students, today we will start with the demonstration videos of our experiments in the subjects electronic devices and circuits. So we will start with the first experiment titled current series feedback amplifier. So again, here is the disclaimer. This is the outline of our presentation. In the first part we will try to explain you the theoretical background of this topic and followed with the demonstration video. So in this we will discuss about the aim, components, the circuit diagram, theory, procedure, observations and so on. Now as far as the feedback is concerned, we have studied that the voltage gain, the input impedance, the output impedance, the bandwidth, etc. are a few of the important characteristics of an amplifier, and these parameters are more or less constant for a given amplifier, and quite often these parameters are required to be controlled. This can be easily achieved by employing a technique called a feedback. So when a part or a fraction of output is combined to the input, a feedback is said to exist. Thus the process of combining a fraction of output energy, it may be a voltage or a current, back to the input is called as feedback. So when the feedback voltage or maybe current it is connected in such a way that or is so applied that as to increase the input signal, then it is referred to as positive or direct or regenerative feedback. And since positive feedback causes excessive distortion and instability, it is seldom used in amplifiers. However, because of its capability of increasing the power of the original signal, it is used in original oscillator circuits. So when the feedback voltage, or for that matter current, is so applied as to weaken the input signal, that is when the feedback is in phase opposition to the input signal, it is called negative, inverse or degenerative feedback. This negative feedback reduces the amplifier gain, but it has numerous advantages such as it improves the gain stability, reduction in nonlinear distortion, reduction in noise, increase in the bandwidth or improvement in frequency response. Apart from this, it also increases the input impedance and decreases the output impedance depending upon the topology. Okay, and it is frequently used in amplifier circuit. The reduction in gain due to the negative feedback can always be compensated by increasing the number of stages. So both voltage and current can be fed back to the input either in series or in parallel, resulting in 4 basic feedback connection, and these connections are voltage series feedback, voltage shunt feedback, current series feedback and current shunt feedback. Now the comparative table is right in front of you. In this list, the voltage refers to the connecting the output voltage as an input to the feedback network, and current refers to the tapping of some output current through the feedback network. Series refers to the connecting the feedback signal in series with the input signal, and shunt refers to connecting the feedback signal in parallel with an input current source. Fine. Now in this today's experiment we shall try to prove the advantages offered by a current series feedback amplifier. Now when we have a series feedback connection, it tends to increase the input impedance of the amplifier. This is because in this case the feedback signal is returned to the input in series to oppose the applied voltage, causing input current to fall and consequently makes the input impedances to increase. Comparison, you can check out that for voltage amplifier the input resistance is increased while as far as the output resistance is concerned, it is decreased by a factor of 1 plus beta A. So depending upon the topology we can vary the input and the output resistance accordingly. Now the aim of this experiment is to measure the voltage gain of current series feedback amplifier. These are the components required. As a transistor we are going to use BC107, regulated power supply, then these are the set of resistors, capacitors. We also require CRO of 20 MHz dual trace, breadboard, function generator, multimeter and connecting wires. Now this is the circuit diagram right in front of you. In case of a current series feedback amplifier, the output is taken from the collector node. As far as the methodology is concerned, okay, we have also prepared another video. You can click on the I button and you can watch that video to understand how we can call this circuit as a current series feedback amplifier. Fine. Now in the class we have discussed about the importance of resistors. Right now what you can see is 33 kilo ohms as R1, 8.2 kilo ohms as R2, RC, RE and so on. Now the most important factor here is the bypass capacitor. If I connect the bypass capacitor using that switch, meaning if I close that switch, there has not happened any feedback. Fine. So if I disconnect that switch, then the AC signal which is getting dropped across the emitter resistance 330 ohms will create some kind of a opposite feedback to the input signal. So we are going to check out the output voltage across the collector with and without connecting the capacitor. Remember, if I connect the capacitor, there is no feedback. If I disconnect the capacitor, yes, there is a feedback. Always when you mount the circuit, okay, the first thing you need to note down is whether this circuit is working or not. Before that, you have to check the HFE of a transistor, whether the transistor itself is in good condition or not. Sometimes it so happens that we connect the circuit and after half an hour or 1 hour we realize that the circuit is not working and maybe fault lies with the transistor. Rest are the passive components, so does not create that much of a problem. Now to make out whether this circuit is working in totality after connecting all these components, first thing is you have to check that continuity testing using a multimeter. Okay, and secondly there is a test signal of 20 millivolts and 1 kilohertz that we will discuss later. Now if you apply this signal of 20 millivolts and 1 kilohertz as an input derived from the function generator, and if you are getting the output, that means your circuit connections, the operation, the transistor is, the circuit itself is working. Fine. When you draw the circuit diagram, make sure that all the component values are clearly written with the notation. Fine. So this is the theoretical background. You can pause the slide and you can go through it. The most important line is, in current series feedback, the input impedance and the output impedance are increased and noise and distortions are reduced considerably. So here is the procedure. So connections are made as per the circuit diagram. Keep the input voltage constant at 20 millivolts peak to peak and 1 kilohertz frequency. Fine. You can pause the slide again and you can go through these steps. So we are going to express this voltage gain in terms of dB. So we are using 20 log of V0 by Vi, where V0 is the output voltage and Vi is the input voltage. So once we vary the input signal, okay, there are two cases here. One is keep the input voltage constant and vary the frequency from say 10 Hz to 1 megahertz from the function generator, and note down the corresponding output voltage. And using the Semilog paper, you have to plot the frequency response. Fine. Now from the frequency response, we can make out what is the bandwidth of that given current series feedback amplifier. At 3 dB point, we have to locate F1 and F2, okay, and then difference of the two will give me the bandwidth. Again, this part has been discussed in the classroom, so you should not have any difficulty. If you are having any difficulty, we have already uploaded this lecture, you can go through it. Now this is how the observation table is done. Serial number, output voltage with feedback, output voltage without feedback. So here the second and the third column is with respect to the capacitor. If I connect the capacitor, there is no feedback. If I disconnect the capacitor, bypass capacitor, there exists a feedback. Fine. Gain with feedback and gain without feedback in terms of dB. So it will be 20 log of V0 by Vi. V0 is the output voltage and Vi is the input voltage, which is presently kept fixed at 20 millivolts. And this signal of 20 millivolts is derived from function generator. Now to plot the frequency response, okay, we have to vary the frequency in steps of 1, 2, 5, 7, that is 10 Hz, 20 Hz, 50 Hz, 70 Hz, then 100 Hz, 200, 500 and 700. Fine. Nearly if I go up to 1 megahertz, nearly it will be 26 to 28 set of readings. And you have to note down the output voltage, then gain as a ratio of V0 by Vi, and then in terms of dB it is 20 log of V0 by Vi. So this is how the model waveform looks like, and below you can see the frequency response. Fine. So you can see there are two vertical lines at F1 and F2 for second figure. So the one is lower cutoff frequency, the top one is upper cutoff frequency. The difference between the two is the bandwidth. And why do we have this the gain decreasing in the initial stage, again in the final stage that we have discussed? That's because of frequency roll-off and intercapacitances observed in the transistor circuits. Now the most important factor is the precautions. So while taking the observation for the frequency response, the input must be maintained at, it should be maintained constant at 20 millivolts. So once you set the signal to 20 millivolts using the amplitude button of function generator, make sure that that knob is not changed. Okay, if it so happens that the input signal itself is getting changed, our entire readings will go wrong. Then the frequency should be slowly increased in steps. So we're going to get a continuous profile for that. The three terminals of the transistor should be carefully identified. We are using BC107. So next to the notch is the emitter, followed by base and collector. Or as I told you in the class, we have to download the data sheet of that respective transistor, and then we have to check out the terminals. Fine. And most importantly, the connection should be correct. We should not take the breadboard for granted. Sometimes there are loose connection in the breadboard itself due to the metallic plates. So make sure that once you assemble the circuit, okay, using the continuity tester function of multimeter, see that each and every connection is properly done. And then this is the expected results once you perform the experiment. What we need to understand is the voltage gain, and right in the beginning we have said that the voltage gain with negative feedback tends to reduce, but then it has some other advantages like the bandwidth is increased, the noise is reduced, the distortion is reduced, and especially in this case the input impedance and the output impedance we have to note down. Fine. And we have to also calculate the gain bandwidth product. So in case of results, we have to express our results in terms of some values. So we have to include the quantitative analysis, and then final is the conclusion. Conclusion is the outcome of what we have stated as an objective in the aim. Fine. So with this brief introduction, we will start with the demonstration videos. Now in demonstration videos, okay, first we shall discuss about how the connections are done on the breadboard, then the CRO, how we observe the signals, how we read the signals. There are two channels, all those things will be explained in the CRO part of it. Then power supply. All these circuits, okay, transistor is an active device, it requires a separate power source, okay, excitation source. Now normally we use a battery. Now here in this case we are going to use a power supply that we have in our laboratories. Fine. Using the batteries is costly because they get drained out, so we go for a eliminator, that is a power supply. And as I've said, like input signal has to be 1 kilohertz or 20 millivolt signal, sinusoidal. Fine. That signal is generated from function generator. And how do we connect the function generator to the CRO? All those things are explained in the setup. So we will start with the video. Okay.
Learn how to use a breadboard. Okay, now we'll see how these breadboard connections are. Okay, all these vertical connections are, see, if you what you do is that you take a multimeter, put in continuity mode. Okay, and what I have done is that I have connected wires to this probe so that the wires go inside the breadboard. See, these vertical lines which are here, which are there, are connected. So all these vertical lines are actually shorted. There is a metal plate inside this vertical lines. Okay, so if you use a multimeter and check the continuity, it will give you a beep sound. Okay, so again I am trying for some other vertical lines. See here, see, all these vertical lines are shorted, so you can mount any of the components as per your wish. So all these vertical lines which you can see, they are shorted from here to here. You can check any of these vertical lines. Okay, they are shorted. Now these horizontal lines, now we have two horizontal lines here. Okay, but they are actually not shorted. Now actually the breadboard is divided into two parts, so from here to this last portion it is shorted. Okay, so you can connect your component to any of these slots. Okay, it is like this full line from here till here is shorted. Okay, so you can hear the beep sound. Okay, but this is, so we have a metal plate from here to here, that is the reason it is shorted, and then we have one more metal plate from this portion to this portion. Okay, so if I use a multimeter or connect one side to this, okay, you will see that it is showing a continuity test. Okay, so it is showing a beep sound. Okay, so this part also is shorted. Similarly this line also. Okay, there is no connection between the top line and the line below. Okay, there is no connection. See, there is no sound. Okay, no continuity sound. Okay, so there is no continuity here. Okay, so as per this horizontal lines, from here till here it is shorted, from here till here it is shorted, and on the other side from here to here it is shorted, and from here to here. I'll show you for the last time. See, from here to here it is shorted. Okay, then this is one line, this is second line that is shorted. Okay, and then this is the third line that is shorted, and this is the fourth line that is shorted. Okay, and all these vertical lines are shorted. Okay, see, like this. Okay, but this vertical line and this vertical line is not shorted. Okay, see here, it is not giving you a beep sound. Okay, so none of these vertical lines are shorted, this and this. Okay, see, if I connect here and here, you will not get a vertical beep sound. Okay, but if you connect like this, you will get a beep sound. So this is how you should use a breadboard. Okay, yes, thank you. In this video we will see how to use a power supply. So for all our circuits we have a battery in the circuit diagram, but using battery will be costly for us. So usually what we do is that we have a power supply. So this is a DC power supply, okay, that we have over here. Okay, and I'll teach you all how to use this. Okay, so we have three different sections over here. So these 2 points, this is positive and negative of the power supply. This is one section wherein you can get a variable voltage from 0 to 30 volts in this, using these 2 points. Okay, this is the positive, this is the negative. You can see here there is a positive here. Okay, there is a positive here, and you can see that there is a negative sign here. So this is positive and negative, and it is showing that it is variable. So you can get any voltage from 0 to 30 volts. Now how do you set this voltage? Using these 2 knobs over here. This is coarse, where you can change the voltage abruptly fast. Okay, and if you want to adjust it very slowly, you can use this fine knob over here. To set the current, we have this knob over here, I maximum. Okay, so using these 3 knobs I can actually set this voltage. Okay, so you can vary it from anything from 0 to 30 volts. So in the second part we have over here, it is having a fixed 5 volts power supply, power section. So this is positive, this is negative. Now it is not variable, this is fixed. Okay, so you will always get positive 5 volts from this terminal over here. Okay, now for your op amps and all, so when you are actually doing experiments with op amps, okay, we require a dual power supply. It requires a positive voltage as well as a negative voltage. So this is the third section of this power supply, where it is giving you positive voltage, okay, and negative voltage with respect to a ground. Okay, how do you set these voltages? It is through these 3 knobs. Okay, it is the same as what we have discussed over here. Okay, now for voltage, these are the 2 knobs, coarse and fine. Okay, you can set the voltage accordingly. I will show you how to do, and for current you can vary this. Okay, so how do you use this? Okay, so what I do is that I turn on the power supply. I press, if I want to use this section, I have to press this button 30 volts over here. Okay, it will show you the voltage which is coming over here. Okay, so you can use a multimeter in voltage DC. See, now I have used a multimeter, and this is actually set to measure DC voltage. Okay, so what we do is that we take a multimeter. I am just checking how much is the voltage over here. It is showing 11.5 on the multimeter. On the power supply it is showing 11.2. okay, so you can actually vary this. Now if I want to set it to 15, just see, I am just varying the course. Okay, I am varying the course knob. Okay, so it is exactly at 15. Now if you want to set it fine, okay, so use this fine knob and set it exactly to 15. Okay, so this is positive, this is negative. Okay, so we have learned how to use this section. Okay, so it is very simple. This is positive, this is negative. Using this coarse and fine, you can set the voltage accordingly. Okay, now the second section, okay, there is no adjustment for that. It is a fixed 5 volt power supply. Maximum current is 1 amp. Okay, so if you connect a multimeter, you will get 4.97, that is 5 volts over here. Okay, maximum current it can give is 1 amp. Okay, here also maximum current that it can give is 1 amp. Okay, next is your dual power supply. Okay, so if you want to set maybe 10 volts over here and minus 10 volt over here, and with respect to ground, what you can do is that you can use this course. Okay, and you can actually set it up. Okay, so I just see the multimeter reading. It is showing 10. So how I got it, I actually varied this so that I got 10 over here. So I am getting plus 10 volts. Okay, on this probe or on this connector over here of the, I am varying the fine. Okay, so I am getting exact 10. Okay, so you can vary your fine to set it up. Okay, so I am getting 10 volts on this. Okay, so if I want minus 10 volt, see, it will automatically be set. Okay, you need not do the setting here. Okay, so whatever is over here, voltage that you are setting, so positive voltage will be coming over here and negative voltage will be coming over here. So if you have plus 10 here, you will get minus 10 with respect to ground. Okay, and you can set your current level also, how much maximum you want. Maximum it can give is 1 amp. Okay, so this is how we use a power supply. Okay, so thank you. Hi friends, in this particular video we'll learn how to use a function generator. So this is a function generator, and also we'll be learning how to use a CRO. Okay, so this is a CRO and this is a function generator. Now if you want to, if you have designed an amplifier, now for that amplifier you need to give an input signal, and then that input signal will go in the amplifier circuit, and then it will be amplified, and then it comes at the output. Okay, so this is the device that is actually giving the input signal. So this is the source for the amplifier. Okay, so from here we are getting the input signal. Now how to use this function generator? Okay, now the first thing is that now as you know that the input signal given to the amplifier usually is a sine wave. Okay, and then in a sine wave we have amplitude part and we have the frequency part. Okay, so the amplitude part you can set it using these two knobs over here. So we have your amplitude, you can read, you can see here that it is written amplitude over here. So this is basically is used to set the amplitude of the input signal. Okay, and then these knobs are actually used to set the frequency of the input signal. So the input signal that is there has amplitude and frequency. So this is used to set the amplitude or to vary the amplitude, and these buttons which are there, they are used to set the frequency with this multiplier switch. Okay, so it is very simple. Now if you want to set the input signal for a frequency of 1 kilohertz, so what you can do is that you can actually press this button. Now see here, you can see I am pressing this 1 kilo button over here, and this multiplier knob, you can see this some indication is over here, and then 1 is over here. So it is actually multiplying. So 1k into 1 is 1 kilohertz. So actually if you connect this function generator to a CRO, you are expected to get a 1 kilohertz signal. Okay, if you want a 10k signal, then you have to press 10k, and this has to be 1. If you want 20k, there are two options. Either you press a 10k and you set this guy to 2, okay, so it is 10 into 2, or you press this 100k and set it to 0.2. So whichever you find convenient, you can use. Okay, so you have to only remember that for frequency, this buttons and this multiplier switch will play an important role. Okay, this is the multiplying thing. So 10k into 2 will give you, this is a simple thing, 20 kilohertz. Okay, so this is how you vary the frequency, and then using this amplitude knob over here, this is how you vary the amplitude. Okay, now this is called as the CRO. Now using this device, what we did is that we gave input to the amplifier. Okay, the input signal went to the amplifier, it got amplified. Now we can't see using our naked eyes, correct? No, so we have to we use a device, something called as CRO, to actually see how my waveform is looking. Okay, so the output of the amplifier is actually connected to the CRO. Okay, and then your signal will be displayed onto the CRO. Okay, now if you see this, I will not explain all the things. I will just explain what is required. So it has two channels. This is channel 1 and this is channel 2. Okay, so this you can actually see two signals over here. So in short, I can see I can connect input over here to this channel, so I can see input also and output also of the amplifier at the same time. Okay, so there are two channels, channel 1 and channel 2. Okay, it is not compulsory that always input has to be connected to channel 1 and output has to be connected to channel 2. You can connect wherever you want. Okay, they are independent channels. Okay, so this is the voltage division for channel 1, this is for channel 2, and this is for time division adjustment. Okay, I'll show you how it is. Okay, now if you want to see, now we have something called as BNC connector. Now these are called as BNC connectors. Okay, so this, if you can see here properly, they are called as BNC connectors. Now I'll just show you one properly. Okay, and this is just one simple BNC connector. So on one side it will have this knob, okay, that will either go here or here, and on the other side it has these crocodile pins. Okay, so what you can do is that now if I want to connect, what I will do is that I will simply connect output of this function generator to this CRO and check how the signal is appearing. Okay, so what I can do is that now we have three options here, 1, 2 and 3. Now which option you should use? Okay, so you have to always use this 50 ohms option. Okay, so you have to connect your probe BNC connector over here. Okay, so I connect it over here on one side. Okay, and I use one more BNC connector. I will use channel 2 in this case. You can use any channel that you like, there is no compulsion. And what I will do is that I will short these two I will short these two probes here. I have used wires. Okay, you can directly use crocodile pins, but I wanted to use that for a circuit, so I use wires. So it is like a same, it is like one connector now. Okay, positive to positive and negative to negative. Okay, so directly output of this function generator is given to this CRO here. Okay, so what is the first thing that you do? You turn this function generator on. It is already on, you can see here. You can turn this on. Okay, now this is the new CRO. It will show you digital readings of channel 1, the setting of channel 1. So it is set to 10 millivolts, 5 millivolts. So you can change this accordingly depending on how much signal is getting displayed over here. If it is small, you can keep it small. If it is big, you can keep it high. Okay, and channel 2 is set for 2 volts. Okay, and your time division is set for 1 millisecond. Okay, so what is the first thing that you do? Okay, you always want okay, when you are setting this up, both the devices, the first thing what you do is that you press this ground button. Okay, so you press this ground button. Okay, this line has to be exactly in the center. So using, now since I am using channel 2, this is the knob for that. Okay, if I had to use channel 1, this is the knob for changing the thing. Okay, so I am pressing the ground button, I am releasing the ground button. Okay, and then we will see what output waveform I get. Okay, so you can see I am getting a proper sinusoidal waveform. Okay, now so this is how the output, this is how the signal looks like. So what I have done is that I have connected function generator directly to the CRO. Since now why it is little shabby is because of these grounding issues. Okay, if I had to connect this crocodile pins properly, the waveform will not. Okay, so if you have a new BNC connectors, this waveform will be stable enough. Okay, so this is how you do. Now we'll only learn how to use this. Forget about the waveform, that is okay. Now if you want to increase the amplitude, now you can. So if you want to increase the amplitude, no. Okay, now so if I vary this, the signal looks to be big, but actually you are not increasing the amplitude of the signal. Okay, you are just making it big. Okay, if you actually want to increase the amplitude of the signal, what you have to do is you have to actually vary this knob. Okay, so you have to increase this. So if you vary this knob, you are actually increasing the amplitude. Okay, now we'll just measure. Okay, the amplitude with this setting. Now it is, how do you measure this? We'll measure half of this peak. So it is 1, 2, 3 divisions. Okay, 3 into channel 2 it is, no? So 2. So it is 6 volts. So this is 6 volts. Okay. So if I actually make it small, okay, it is actually 6 volt. So it is 1.2 into 5 volts is 6 volts. Okay, so when I vary this, it doesn't mean that the signal is becoming small. Okay, you are just zooming the signal. Okay, the signal is remaining same. Okay, so this is what it means. So actually the signal amplitude is 6 volts. Now if I actually reduce it from the function generator, okay, now you will measure. Now what I have done is that I am reducing the signal. Okay, now if you measure the signal amplitude, it is 1. So this is 1 into 2 is 2 volts. Now the amplitude of the signal, that is half wave, is 2 wave or is 2 volts. Okay, so if I increase it, okay, so it is 2 into 1 is 2. So this is how we actually change the amplitude of the signal. Okay, now if I want to change the frequency, so I have pressed this 1 key, and what I have to do is that this time base is very small, so I have to increase that. Okay, now we see how to vary the amplitude. Now you can see a proper signal. The problem with the previous waveform was the connectors, so we have replaced the connectors. Okay, so what we do is that we press ground. We see that it is exactly at the center here. I have pressed ground C here, and then we vary this knob so that the line is exactly at the center. We release this. Okay, and then if you want to vary this, what we have to do is this button. Okay, so you can see X shift. Okay, this knob is to vary this in X direction. Okay, so what I am doing is that I am setting this, keeping this at this level. Okay, now how much is the amplitude? Now it is 1 box, 1 division, 2 divisions. So 2 into 1 is 2 volts. Okay, since I am using channel 2. Okay, now if I actually increase it like this, okay, so how many divisions it is now? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 into 0.5 is 2 again. Okay, so if I vary this, it doesn't amplify the signal. Okay, so this is something that you have to know. Okay, if it is big, it is not that it has amplified. Okay, if you have to actually increase the amplitude of the signal, you have to actually vary this knob of on the function generator. So if I increase, I will decrease it. Okay, if I decrease it, okay, now what will be the amplitude of the signal? So it is 1 into 1 is 1 volt. Okay, now what I will do is that I will increase this guy so that, okay, so it is 2 divisions into 0.5 is 2 is still 1 volt. Okay, so this is how you vary the amplitude. So to vary the amplitude, you have to vary this. Okay, to vary the frequency, you have to vary this. Okay, you have to press this button, and so this is now for 5 kilohertz, so I press 10 and I will set this, I'll keep this at 0.5. so this waveform that you can see is 5 kilohertz signal. Okay, so this waveform that you can see is 5 kilohertz signal. Okay, so if you want a sinusoidal waveform, okay, you press this. Okay, so if you want a square waveform, you press this button. Okay, so if you see here, you are actually getting square waveform. Okay, these vertical lines are not seen. Okay, in CRO you will not see. Okay, so it is like this. Okay, so this is a square waveform at 5 kilohertz. So if I press this button, it is a triangular waveform. Okay, triangular waveform of 5 kilohertz. Okay, so using these three buttons, you can actually set a signal for a sinusoidal, for a square, and for a triangular waveform. And using these knobs, you can actually set it for the frequency and with this frequency multiplier. So I guess this is just a basic introduction of how to use your devices, because we will be requiring these devices when we perform our experiments. Okay, so thank you very much. Now we'll see how to build this circuit. Okay, now as already explained, this is a circuit diagram of current series feedback amplifier. Okay, and then we have all these components which are actually mentioned. This is already explained. Okay, now what we I would like to suggest you all is that you please pick up your components and keep it on the paper itself, so it will become easy for you to actually mount them. Okay, so the first component is 33 kilo ohm resistor. So what I will do is I will just take one 33 kilo ohm resistor. You need to verify whether it is 33 kilo ohm resistor properly. Okay, don't simply pull out any resistor and place it there inside. Okay, so just see that we have a 33 kilo ohm resistor. So I will just place it over here. This is 33 kilo ohm resistor. This is one thing. Next we have 8.2. Okay, please actually check your components before mounting. Okay, you have to actually so we need to place 8.2 kilo ohm resistor over here. Okay, and then 1.5 kilo ohm resistor I will take it and place it over here, and then 330 ohms I have. Okay, so I have placed all the 4 resistors. Now it becomes easy for me to actually mount it. Okay, and then I need 10 microfarad capacitor. So this is one 10 microfarad capacitor, and then I have put a 10 microfarad capacitor, one more 10 microfarad capacitor, and final this is your bypass capacitor, that is of 100 microfarads. Okay, and then the important person in the circuit is the transistor. We are using BC107 transistor. It is a NPN transistor. So if you have your components like this in front of you, it becomes easy to mount. Okay, now the first thing what I need to explain you all is the leads of the transistor. Okay, okay. Now how to find which is emitter, base and collector for this particular transistor. Now this is very simple. Now if you see this transistor, we have a notch over here. You can see there is a notch over here. Okay, the first lead on this side of the notch, this one is the emitter, this is the base, and this is the collector. Now you can refer data sheet of BC107 transistor, and from there you can find out. Okay, now so we have a notch. So this is base, emitter, base and collector. Okay, so you have to place it accordingly in your circuit. Now with regard to this capacitor, okay, now if you see here, this lead is negative, it is marked over here negative, and this becomes positive lead. Okay, so this is negative, this is positive. If the capacitor is new, you can looking at the length of the connector, you can come to know that this is negative, this is positive. Actually you have to see over here, this is negative and then this is positive. Now this we have done. Okay, now we'll place the components onto our breadboard. Okay, so we'll shift these components to our breadboard. The very first thing what you need to do is you have to place your transistor. Okay, so usually your transistor is placed in this manner. So half section will be in the top lines and half section will be down. We have mounted the transistor. Okay, so this is your emitter, this is the base, and this is the collector. Okay, now as per the circuit diagram which is over here, okay, you have to mount the components. Okay, so this is the collector. So what I will do is that I will try to mount the components of the collector. Okay, so from we'll see that we'll keep this as VCC and we'll keep this as ground. Okay, so from VCC, so I'm actually mounting 3.33 kilo ohms. Okay, so from VCC, okay, this is VCC. Okay, I am putting, so this is my base. Okay, so first component is gone. Okay, so one side it is VCC, the other side, okay, I have put it in the base slot. Okay, so this is done. So 33 kilo ohms. Okay, so base, one side it is VCC, another you can see here it has gone to the base. Okay, so this is done. Next is your 1.5 kilo ohms. Okay, so again VCC, again this is VCC. Okay, we have VCC. Okay, and we'll put it to collector here. Okay, so two components are mounted. So this is done. So VCC and so 33 kilo ohms and 1.5 kilo ohms is already mounted. Okay, so from base there is one resistor 8.2 that is going to ground. So what I can do is that, so this is the base lead, I am connecting it to ground. So this is done. Okay, and we have this 330 ohm in the collector, so in the emitter. So 330 ohm, I put this resistor here. Okay, and then I've connected this to ground here. Okay, so this is also done. So all the resistors are mounted properly, the transistor is mounted properly. Now what we need to do is we need to mount the capacitors. Okay, so we have to mount. So we are mounting this 10 microfarad. So negative is going towards the base. So what I am going to do is I connected it here like this. Okay, so this is the positive. Okay, and that is the negative. Negative is going to the base of the transistor. It is very simple. Okay, and we have this capacitor. This is actually connected to the collector. Okay, so connector. Okay, and okay, so we have to give input over here and we have to get the output over here. Okay, so this is input for the amplifier, this is output for the amplifier. We forgot to put this one. So there is this bypass capacitor 100 microfarad. Okay, so positive is going to emitter. So remember, so positive is going to emitter. Positive is actually going to emitter and negative is going to ground. Okay, so this is positive that is connected over here and negative is actually going to ground. Okay, so this is how we connect. So I have connected all the components. What we need to do is that we have to connect a power supply. Okay, set up a power supply for the circuit works on 12 volts, so we need to use a power supply over here. Okay, and then okay, now to use the power supply, so we have this knob over here. So this is done. Okay, so this is power, this is positive and this is negative. This is positive, this is negative. See, yeah? Okay, so we have to connect VCC here. This is your collector side and this is your ground. So these connections are done. Okay, simple it is. So this is 12 volts, this is ground. Okay, now we need to give input. So input we are taking from this function generator. So this is our function generator. Okay, so input is to this, okay, to this capacitor here. Okay, and this I am connecting to ground. So I have given the input. Okay, and to check to see the output, what I am doing is I am connecting the CRO. Okay, the output. So this I have connected here. okay, and this is getting connected to ground. That's it. It is a very simple circuit. Okay, so we have actually mounted the entire circuit. We need to check whether we are getting output. So we have to set this up to, we have to press this button over here. It is set to 15 volts. We need to reduce it to 12 volts here. Okay, and okay, we have to set this over here. Okay, so you have to, okay, we'll see the output here. So here we have, so what I have done is that so we have two channels for the CRO. This is channel 1, okay, and this is channel 2. Okay, so channel 2 is your output, and channel 1 I have connected to input, so I can see both the waveform, input as well as output. So if I ground the channel 2, so this is the input waveform that I am actually giving to the amplifier. Okay, and then if I remove this ground, okay, so you can see that you are getting an output which is higher than as compared to the input, because both the voltage levels are same. So you see that there is a lot of amplification that has happened over here. We will see how much it is. Okay, and you can also note that the output waveform is 180 degrees out of phase shift with the input signal. So the amplifier is working perfectly fine as per the design. Now, okay, so this is the output of the amplifier. Okay, now what we need to learn over here is that with feedback and without feedback. Now the main component that is actually giving feedback is this capacitor over here. So when it is in the circuit, okay, there is no feedback happening. Okay, so the output is higher as compared to the input over here. You can see in these waveforms, you can see this is the output section, this is the output waveform, it is higher as compared to input. Okay, but if I remove this capacitor, okay, so when I remove this capacitor, there is a feedback that happens over here. Okay, and then see the output has reduced, okay, because of this feedback. Okay, so this is something that is important for you all to understand. So this is with feedback. Okay, this is with feedback, and if I put it again, okay, so without feedback, the output increases. So this is what you have to note. Okay, so this is without feedback, where the capacitor is there in the circuit. Okay, so you have a higher amplification. So when you remove the capacitor, you have a feedback, and see the output has reduced to very small voltage. Okay, so you can see here. Okay, so this is your output and this is your input. Okay, okay, so I'm just putting it again for your reference. See output. Now you can see your output. Okay, and see this is with feedback. Okay, when the capacitor is removed. Okay, so this is what we need to understand in this particular experiments. Okay, so hopefully you have understood. Thank you.